Hello again, everyone. This is Mr. E, and welcome back to part 2 of identifying parts of an algebraic expression. Let's get started. So I wanted to cover some definitions in this video. Start off. So we have an algebraic expression, some number x to the power of 2 plus some number y times 5 minus some number x plus 6. So we gave definitions for a term, or what a term can be. A term can be a variable, a single number, or a product of numbers and variables. So our terms here are x squared, 5 times y, negative x, and 6. And notice I don't put my operations when I list my terms. You wouldn't put the terms are x squared plus 5y. X plus is not a term. Our variables. They're a letter that represents a number or some numbers whose value we don't know. So in this expression, our variables are y and x. Now I know you see x twice here, but there's no need to repeat x twice. The variable is x, the variable is y. Our coefficients. They're numbers multiplied by the variable, or some books say attached to the variable. But one of the most important things to know is that every variable has a coefficient. If you don't see a coefficient, like here you see a 5, you have to assume that it's either 1 or negative 1. So in this case, the coefficient for my x squared term is 1. The coefficient for my y term is 5, and my coefficient for this x term, is negative 1. There's always 1 there. It's very important, especially when you start getting up into algebra. And the constant, finally, is number whose value does not change. And the constant is not attached to a variable. So 6 is a constant. 5 is not a constant. 5 is a coefficient because it's attached to a variable. Because you'll say 5 doesn't change. Well, it's attached to a variable. 6 is the constant. It doesn't change, and it's not attached to a variable. All right, so those are some definitions. So let's go ahead and continue to identify parts of algebraic expressions. So we have example 4, example 5. Go ahead and pause the video for me and come back and let's compare answers. So we have x squared, or the quotient of x squared, and 5 plus 3y minus 8. So my variables in the first expression are x and y. My coefficients 1/5 and 3. So some of you are still asking, how do you get 1/5? Well, 1/5 times x to the power of 2 is the same as x to the power of 2 divided by 5. So our coefficient is 1/5. Our constant term doesn't change, it's negative 8. And remember, always keep that sign with it. Example 2. Our variables again are x and y. And it's pretty obvious that my coefficient here is 2/3. Looks a little different than this, but still a fractional coefficient. Coefficient for my x squared term is 3. And my constant is a plus 6. No need to write the plus, but it's there. Okay, now I want to expand this concept to the idea of factors. Remember that factors are two numbers you multiply by each other to get another number. So 6 times 2 is 12. These are my factors. Well, you have the same idea with expressions. Some algebraic expressions have factors, and inside those factors have terms. So here's an algebraic expression, 9 times the sum of t plus 4. So if you remember your order of operations, you have to find this number first, and when you're done, you're going to multiply it by 9. So I have two factors. What are my two factors? I have 9, which is a factor. So when I multiply 9 times whatever the value of t plus 4 is. So now I have two factors. And the 9 is still a constant term. It doesn't change. And another factor, t plus 4, I can break that down to a constant term of 4, my variable of t, and my coefficient of 1. So what we're stressing here is that you can separate some algebraic expressions into factors. We'll do one more before we take a break. and finish up part 3. I have another expression. Some number x squared minus 7 times the difference between 4 and n. So I have my expression here. I have two factors. I'm going to multiply negative 7 times whatever I get inside here. So these two are factors. What are my terms? I have the x squared term, and I have the negative 7 as my constant term, and I have this factor, which contains a variable, the coefficient. Remember, it's every variable has a coefficient. If you don't see it, it's either 1 or negative 1, and I have my constant term. All right, so we're rolling up on 6 minutes. We'll come back and answer these questions, so try to answer them before you start the next video, and then we'll wrap this up identifying parts of algebraic expressions.